Hey everybody, welcome back to the Casual Critics. I'm Presley and this is my mom, Becky, and we talk about all things politics, sports, social media, pop culture, and everything in between. And we have a great show for you guys today. Hi, Mom.
Hi. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm good. I'm good.
What are we going to start with today? Do we want to start with the Mavs? Since last time we were here, they hadn't played a game yet in the finals, and now we're done.
Yeah. So last episode, I think we were a little heavy on sports, but there was a lot going on, obviously. And then the NBA finals was last night. Mm-hmm. Final game. It was unfortunately didn't go to 7 games.
Game 5.
It was game 5. And the Mavericks got schooled by the Celtics big time.
Well, they let us win here because they wanted to win in Boston.
I totally agree with that. I think that it was so apparent that they pulled out all their starters, and I know that they were behind, but still.
When we whooped them, it wasn't even close. So
exactly. So it was, I think a planned thing in a way. You hate to think that somebody threw a basketball game, but it kind of appeared that way. I don't know, but
they wanted to win in Boston. I get it, but had to give the Mavs something. Had to give Luka something to want to come back to.
So the Mavs only won 1 game out of 5.
They won game 4.
Yes, and it was very disappointing.
And no teams ever come back from a three game deficit in the final series to win. So it would have been a miracle, but.
It would have.
Not our year.
But you know what? The Mavs won the Western Conference, so they had a great season.
They weren't even projected to win that.
No,
so,
they had a great season. So I'm looking forward to next season. Hopefully they'll keep a lot of the same players around. I hate to see, a team that has some synergy and then all of a sudden they split everything up like they did the year after we won the championship in 2011.
That was Cuban's fault.
That was so annoying.
I don't understand why they traded Tyson Chandler after that.
100%. That was just bizarre. And then they broke it up without thinking, okay, let's win one more championship. And then,
let's try for one more for Dirk.
Yes.
Come on.
I agree.
But
some of the highlights of last night and also the series between the Dallas and Boston. Jaylen Brown, oh my gosh, on fire. He's the small forward, number 7, shooting guard.
Small forward is a funny phrase because he's 6'6".
Yes. Porzingis is,
like I said, free kite. That's free kite.
Yeah, Porzingis is 7'2". I mean, he's not the shooting guard, but still. Jaylen Brown was amazing. He's got big old arms, too. I don't know if you
he's crazy.
Noticed that or not.
He's crazy. He had 21 points last night.
Yeah, he was great. He deservingly got MVP.
He had over 100 points in the series against the Mavericks alone. So
he played amazing. Had to laugh in a way. I mean, it was kind of not a laughable moment at the time, but Derek White face planted into the court. And
Mom doesn't like him.
He's not an attractive man. I'm sorry. There are some men that look great bald. He does not look good bald.
Okay.
And then the fact that he chipped a tooth on top of it.
I was at a bar watching that last night with my friend Kennedy, and we saw the slow motion of his face hitting the ground. And I go, that's a broken nose and a surgery waiting.
For sure. And he was bleeding profusely.
Oh my. So. Well, yeah, in his mouth. Anything in your mouth bleeds a lot.
It does.
Chipped a tooth, and that looked like it hurt. I can't remember whose elbow landed on the top of his head.
It was Lively's.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was the cherry on top. It was not just the face hit; it was the elbow onto the back of the head, back into the floor.
But good for him coming back out and finishing up and playing because it's the championship.
Final.
I mean, you got to The other thing that I thought was just amazing, like everybody else probably did as well, was the Peyton Pritchard's 3-pointer buzzer beater at halftime.
That was when everybody that I was around goes, all right, they don't have it. They can't do it this year. We're done. The Celtics got it. Yeah. The energy was too high after that.
Well, so Pritchard also set 2 records. So he set one record for the longest shot made, which was over 50 feet, by the way. It was crazy far out, past half court. And then he also set another record because I think it was game 3.
Yeah.
It was either game 2 or 3. It was game 2. He made a 3-point buzzer beater as well. It was the only score he had during that game. at the end of the third
That's all
quarter.
that matters.
Yeah, the end of the third quarter. And he was like, I'm
crazy.
done.
Yeah, I'm done. Put me back on the
good.
bench. I'm good.
Yeah. So it was funny because all his teammates, of course, are just, going wild and bumping chests.
It was a great moment.
Both 3-pointers were just outstanding. And then, of
sure,
course,
they got some great photos during that first Sports Illustrated.
Oh, I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did. And then last night, of course, at the half when he made it, the place in Boston just erupted.
Yeah, that was. It was a cool moment.
It was a very cool moment, and good for great for the fans there in Boston. So much fun.
Yeah,
and they had
so
one
much
too
fun.
since I think it was 2007 and 8.
Yeah. They kept showing
season.
pictures from 8 on ESPN last night, so that had to be it.
Yeah, it was the 2007/8 team. Yes.
Dave Portnoy won like $1.5 million on that game, or
insane.
on the series. I think the series, he bet like $100,000 on the series.
Yeah.
And ended up winning crazy
Well,
money.
didn't he
He's from Boston, though, so he's very loyal to the Boston teams.
Right. Didn't he also win, though, on the Kentucky Derby or something?
He did win on the Kentucky Derby. It was one of the, something like that recently. He's big sports better. So,
of course.
Yeah. It's his thing. It's how Barstool started in general. So.
And, that's pretty damn lucky. I mean,
Yeah. He'll tell you he's just good, probably.
Well, yeah.
Like Grandma does, but she's just good at slots.
Well, my mom is pretty lucky on slots, so it's fun to watch her play, too.
But, do you want to move on from the Mavs? It was sad they lost, but, I saw the post-game interviews and stuff, and Luka and Kyrie, they're all like, got a good team. We had some good energy this year. We're moving forward. We're going to big things in the future kind of thing.
Oh, and they all seem to like playing with each other.
Yeah,
which
PJ
is fun to
Washington's
watch.
great.
Yeah, so I hope they stick together. We'll see for next season. And, so on to the next sport, which is
one of the greatest American athletes, Joey Chestnut, is banned from the Nathan's hot dog eating contest this year, which he's won 8 times in a row the past 8 years.
Yeah.
He's won the contest 16 times. That's a lot of hot dogs.
So he's considered an extreme eater.
Yeah, he's a professional eater.
That's the thing. He's a professional eater, and being from the hot dog manufacturing world, and actually we held a hot dog eating contest at the Texas State Fair.
Wasn't Kobayashi there?
Yes, we had Kobayashi.
That's another professional eater.
Correct, and he's Japanese, and he flew in to do kind of this. Where he was just going to show how much he could eat. It wasn't against other participants at that time, but we had some amateur people that came up on stage, and a couple of them were college guys, which I loved.
They're really ambitious. When they pick how many hot dogs they think they can eat.
Right.
And then you get to like hot dog 4
or 5
3 or 4 and 6. You're like, ugh.
Yes. I think somebody ate like 23 during that year, which was amazing.
I bet they went off stage and threw up a bunch.
Yes. Well, we had a rule.
Yeah, you have to have that rule.
Yes.
That you can't throw up.
If you lose it, you lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had trash cans strategically placed, around the stage for everybody.
Well, Joey Chestnut slams back like 60-something hot dogs, maybe 70 every year.
Crazy.
But Major League Eating said that he couldn't participate because he is now getting paid to represent Impossible Foods. Mm-hmm. And even though I just read about it, they have no contract. The Major League Eaters have no contract with Major League Eating or with Nathan's. So technically, I don't see the problem with them representing whatever hot dog they want to represent.
Well, I think 2 things. One is and there again, I have a lot of experience with hot dogs and meat products, but I don't really consider the Impossible hot dog a direct competitor of a regular hot dog, because I think that's typically a different audience, a different person who will eat the Impossible hot dog versus
anybody that
wants
a regular hot dog. If you try to give them one of the Impossible ones, would probably be like, no. What kind of meat's in this? There's no meat in this.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's one thing, and then and the other is just if you're on stage for the hot dog eating contest for the Nathan's ones, you're eating Nathan's, so. You're not sitting up there eating the Impossible one, so I don't see the big conflict.
No, I don't either. Well, and that's what Joey Chestnut said. Is he said there's no conflict. I don't have a contract with them.
Yeah.
And he said he would love to. He's been training to defend his title this year, and he's upset that he won't be able to defend his title.
I'm upset. I enjoy turning that on every 4th of July, no matter where we are. If we're in California at the house there, or if we're in Dallas, I make sure and tune in.
I like to see that freaky man eat like 70 hot dogs and everybody cheers collectively. And people that say Americans have no culture, that's American culture.
That definitely is. And it's fun to watch.
It's hilarious.
They have a huge audience that tune into that.
Well,
so.
I know. And band is crazy. And the guy from Major League Eating called Joey Chestnut an American hero.
Oh my gosh, I think that's going
in
a bit far.
ESPN article.
I don't think he would be considered an American hero just because he can slam down the hot dogs. But, as I said, I think last time Americans eat a lot of hot dogs between, Memorial Day and Labor Day.
Yep.
And 4th of July is the number one day of the entire year where Americans eat the most hot dogs.
That totally makes sense. It totally makes sense.
Middle of summer and grilling season and all.
So one of my favorite accounts on TikTok is this guy named Jack Mack, and he works for Barstool. Mm-hmm. And he posted about it right when it happened. It happened about a week ago, but we didn't have podcasts last week. But and he called it an abomination that Joey Chestnut would be at the hot dog eating contest. And I said, yeah, that's about how I feel. Yeah. Whoever wins isn't the real winner.
No, and
unless they beat Joey Chestnut.
Well, exactly, or if they beat his record, at least from last year, which is doubtful.
But he beats his own record almost every year.
He does. It's doubtful. It's just amazing what they go through too to prepare. I remember watching.
Where does it go?
I know. I watched Kobayashi get ready for the Texas one, and he's like kind of jumping up and down and has like, I guess every extreme eater has their own routines to it.
Sure, also, like every athlete.
Also like soaking the buns kind of makes me ill. But
it makes everybody ill. It's hard to watch.
They do that so that they'll obviously go down fast and slide down your
There's
throat.
An episode of The Office where they try to do it. Michael tries to set up a hot dog eating contest, and they go, what's the water for? And he goes, so it'll slide down your gullet faster, Phyllis.
Oh my gosh. Disgusting.
So gross.
And I love hot dogs, so it's kind of funny. So
that's gonna be hard to watch this year without him, but
it is. So what do we want to talk about next?
Probably Biden Trump.
I think is okay. So going on to a little bit different of a celebrity. So they just actually the Biden campaign just had a big fundraiser in
where was it?
I think it was in Hollywood.
Was it in Hollywood?
I'm pretty sure, but they had like George Clooney and who else did they have?
Surprised George Clooney went after.
I know. Oh, it was like Jimmy Kimmel and George Clooney and Julia
Kimmel.
I know. I don't find Jimmy Kimmel funny at all.
That has nothing to do with Jimmy Kimmel's politics. I think he's probably kind of an asshole in person.
I agree.
And I don't think he's that funny.
He gives off jerk vibes.
Yeah. The only thing I think Jimmy Fallon's way funnier than Jimmy Kimmel.
100%. So anyway, Julia Roberts was there, Jack Black, which I usually like Jack Black. I like Julia Roberts too. I like George Clooney too, but they all kind of came together to raise money. It was Obama was there, and that was the biggest deal, was that he was there to help them raise money. And then, but the sad thing is that towards the end, Biden looked a little lost. And
is
Obama.
This a video of Obama like leading him off?
It is. So he actually grabs Obama's hand.
Obama grabbed his hand.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Obama grabbed Biden's hand and then kind of put his hand on his shoulder as well and led him out. And Biden's shuffling along, walking very slow, looking a little lost. He shuffles him out, and then the curtain goes down immediately. Like it was just weird. And it's funny because that and another video that recently came out, which was at the D-Day.
Oh, in Italy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was at the D-Day, France.
Oh, that's a different video
France.
than I was thinking. I was thinking the one in Italy where he kind of like, that they show like incessantly on Fox, where he's like turns around and walks away and at the airfield or something.
Yes. I was thinking about the one where the D-Day remembrance, and he was kind of hunched over, and then the people on TikTok went crazy thinking.
It was more than Twitter.
Twitter's
meaner than TikTok. And
yes,
Twitter was like, I have 3 toddlers. I've seen that look. I've seen that stance. I know exactly what's happening. And you're all going, oh
no. And then Jill Biden kind of like leans over and puts her hand over her mouth and whispers something to him while he's all hunched over looking. And then he straightens up and she immediately escorts him away. And then it left the French president to like
greet all the vets.
Greet all the veterans. It was just so bizarre. But anyway, my point with it was that the press secretary and the White House, press corps basically say that it's a Republican edited videos that are coming out, that it's disinformation.
Edited in what way?
I don't know what they mean by that. Clearly they were live video that people captured and that the news captured and kept replaying, and there was no opportunity even to edit it. So I don't understand that at all. But I mean, it is what it is.
I don't know. Maybe they're saying like that the media cut it to make it look like, I don't know. I don't know how they would make it look like anything other than it was. But
exactly.
And it's funny, but you feel bad. You're like, this is just an elderly person that's
Yes.
clearly lost.
Yes. And I
you feel bad, but then you remember that he has the nuclear codes, and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, if he does run for president, which they say he's going to, but then there's also rumbling and rumors that they're going to try to maybe slip somebody in after the debates, like they're setting them up to fail at the debates so they have time to work somebody else in.
After the convention.
After the convention, yes. So I guess just my thought is he's not going to last another presidency. There's no possible way that he could. I'm surprised he's lasted
still
4
here.
years. I honestly am too.
I'm surprised he's still here.
Yeah. But you can see the decline even over the last 4 years.
Oh my God. Thank God, though, because I don't know if I could handle Kamala Harris. I'd have to stop following politics.
Oh, for sure. I'd have to move. And then you hear celebrities say that all the time, but nobody ever really moves.
No,
so
and she wouldn't move either.
There's no other place greater than the U.S. So
no, but
where are you going to go?
Kamala Harris was laughing.
Oh,
laughing.
cackling. I cannot stand the cackling.
The cackling. And it's always like, because she doesn't know what to say, so she's like pausing and laughing, and you're like, oh my God. Yes. She's hard to listen to.
She's definitely is. So anyway, while Biden was doing that and the fundraiser, I guess, was successful, President Trump attended a roundtable discussion at a church in Detroit.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it was kind of his effort to reach out to the Black voters, obviously. And it's called 180 Church, but the pastor, Lorenzo Sewell, told Trump that he was humbled by his visit. And then he stated, which Fox has been playing over and over again, the other stations obviously aren't playing it, but they he's also gotten a lot of hate, the minister has, for this. But he said, President Obama never came to the hood. And President Joe Biden went to the big, NAACP dinner, but never came to the hood as well. So he thanked Trump for making an effort to come out there, which again, we talked about Trump's strategy this time, which is to go to all these like unexpected areas.
But you know what? He did that.
Which is amazing.
Not really in 2020, because that was a weird year. But in 2016, remember he was at all the universities in Florida and in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
He was at Ohio State. He was at Florida State. He was at UF. It was crazy. Or he was sending Don Jr. to frat parties in Florida. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's how you get people in college to vote.
Right.
Is you go there and you show up. And I'm like, that was why he won, because Hillary didn't go to any of those states that she wanted to win in 2016, and he did.
Right.
He was at all of them. So, it said that he lost Detroit like 94% for Biden, 5% for him. Mm-hmm. And it might not matter. Like, he might not win Detroit area, but a couple percentage points in Michigan matters.
Exactly.
Because Michigan matters.
Well, and I think that's the strategy, is obviously he's like chipping away and getting numbers that way.
Couple here, couple there. And then you win a battleground state.
I think the younger audiences, too, are coming around to Trump because, for one thing, they're recognizing Biden's just old.
Poor guy's so old. And the debate's going to be interesting.
It will. It will definitely be interesting. And while they called, Trump old as well. Hey, he went to a UFC fight and stayed till 1:15 in the morning,
Well, the man doesn't sleep.
No.
We knew that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So I guess from that, let's maybe touch on, do you think any of the celebrities will make a difference in the election? I know, like, maybe the way he's chipping away at some of these numbers might influence it, but are there celebrities you think might influence the election?
Not particularly, because I think most people, I think that's more so with older generations now, because my generation you kind of know where people stand.
Well, I think that's kind of the older generation as well. I think that there's not too much that's going to sway like anybody that I know. They already know pretty much who they're going to vote for. There's a few people that are kind of like on the fence, but not very many.
And then the young people don't care because we already know Taylor Swift's a Democrat. We know that there's certain people that are Republican. You know, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Anymore, because we kind of had that whole period where they all kind of came out on different sides.
Right.
And then I think it kind of settled down. And I don't see that being a big effect, because you know that Taylor Swift's going to say things for Democrats, right?
Right.
And you know that there's certain football players and things that are Republican that are going to go for Republican sides, and there's people that aren't going to say anything about politics.
Yeah, and you already know like you said, the celebrities who are, on one side versus the other.
Right.
And this fundraiser, like the George Clooney's and the Julia Roberts and all that, people that follow them, people that follow Barbara Streisand, like she's going to make a difference in the election. I don't think so.
No.
There also was a USA Today poll that came out. It was a national poll that came out not too long ago, like a week or two ago, that said that really most people surveyed said there wasn't any one celebrity except for, surprisingly, not surprisingly actually, Barack Obama might influence it a little bit.
But I wouldn't call him a celebrity. I would call him a politician. And celebrities.
Yeah,
he's famous because he's in politics.
No, I agree.
That'd be like calling Clinton a celebrity.
Yeah, well, and I guess there's a fine line between that, because he's now he's kind of like a political celebrity, but in a way, he's just a politician.
He's just a famous politician.
He's just an elevated politician. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's all pretty interesting. I'd like to see, if there's any surprises that come out.
This election is the same as the last election, right? And everybody's already so polarized on these two people.
Yeah.
That I don't think it matters. Mm-hmm. Because you already kind of know.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. So what's next?
Tipping.
Okay. So we did have somebody who asked us about tipping not too long ago. So we thought that would be a good topic, a little bit lighter than politics, obviously. And everybody can relate to it. But
do you remember who it was that asked us?
It was somebody at my work, actually.
Okay.
It was somebody at my work. So she asked, can you cover, like, what do you think is the right amount to tip? Because we were talking about tipflation, which is a thing. Tipflation is like
what's a funny word.
I know, but it's what's going on right now.
Right.
And it's crazy how much tipping is going on, how many different people are asking for tips, but that also the amount of tipping per tip is gone up. So where it used to be like if you did get an automatic prompt to tip, it would say, this is 10%, this is 12%, this is 15, this is 18, this is 20. That was typically what it did. Mm-hmm. Now it says 20, 25, and 30%,
right,
which is crazy. I even saw 35% on one of the automatic kiosks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's insane.
Well, I saw somebody's comment just on a story about tipping, and it was just some random person on the internet, so it doesn't really matter. But they were like, if you can't tip 30% when you go out to dinner, then like afford to tip 30%, you shouldn't be going out to dinner. And I'm like, 30%? When did it change to 30%?
No, I know. That is just way too crazy. Also, that a lot of people don't realize too, when they have these automatic tip requests on these little, on the little square kiosk or whatever it is, or even like in Toast and all that.
Yeah.
That you're really not supposed to. You're not supposed to tip on the taxable amount.
Right.
Total,
right.
But the pre-tax amount is what you're supposed to tip on. But it doesn't separate that.
Technically, you're not supposed to tip on alcohol either. Mm-hmm. Even though I was a server and I liked when people ordered alcohol because I knew they'd tip more because it's more expensive.
Of course.
But you're not supposed to tip full 20% on drinks.
No, and in fact, when you order like fine wine and stuff too at a restaurant, you really aren't supposed to or not expected to.
You're not going to tip $20 extra for a $100 bottle wine.
Exactly. So I was also a server. We both were when we were younger, and you appreciate what servers do, of course, and you want to tip them as much as possible. But Some people,
yeah, but it's not servers that we're not tipping.
No,
it's
no, you're right.
It's every single person that comes in like contact feels like with food. It's coffee. It's the coffee baristas.
Yes.
It's every fast food place now, and I'm like, sorry, but Chipotle. I've had maybe 3 times I've been in Chipotle where anyone nice has spoken to me at Chipotle. So I'm like, I don't want to tip the Chipotle people 20% for my burrito when they were angry making it.
Well, and it's not like it's not an ongoing serving situation. Like they're literally like slapping your food on something and handing it to you. Some instances you don't even they don't even serve you at all, which is crazy.
Like you were saying stadium food like that. I was thinking about where they ask you for tips.
Yeah,
it's at Capital One Arena. I got like a $17 or $18 burger because all the stadiums are full, and all they did was literally grab it from the window where it was already ready and hand it to me, and I'm like, I can't tip on that.
Okay, no, the craziest places I'm trying to think where I was asked to tip. One was when I made a political donation.
Who would you be tipping?
That's why it was through WinRed. And after I gave the money to the candidate, it said, "Would you like to tip WinRed?"
No.
And I said, "No."
This is your job.
That's crazy. And then they also ask you, the next prompt will say, "Well, do you want to at least cover processing fees so that the candidate gets 100%?"
Right.
And every once in a while, I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But also that's like people get pressured into tipping.
It's so pressured because they're right there and they're waiting for you to select something. And I'm like, I don't mind tipping my Starbucks baristas that I see every day, every other day. Like that doesn't bother me. But I'm like, I'll put $1 or $2 on there. I'm not tipping 20% of my $8 coffee.
Yeah.
I don't know. But no, another one that's crazy is a lot of places in DC have been adding service charges. Before you tip, right?
Yes.
And so then you have to go back and check and see if they already tipped and didn't know it.
Right.
But the place that's in my building, there's a coffee shop in my building, and they added a 12% service fee.
Huh.
And the discount for living in the building is 10%.
So you're paying 2% on top.
Yeah. So I'm like, there's literally no discount. In fact, you get charged more.
Yeah. No, the worst one I think was, there was 2. There was one where I went through, I think it was Baltimore Airport.
Yeah.
Where you go through the self-serve and you get things rung up.
No, they should be tipping you.
And it asked me if I wanted to tip, and I'm like looking around going, who the hell am I tipping?
Yourself. They should be.
I just served myself, and I'm tipping who? The other one was a cake place that decorated a cake.
Yeah, that was funny. You told me.
And I went to pick up the cake. And they had a tip jar out, and the guy at the register, when he rung me up for like $80 for a birthday cake, says, "Oh, do you want a tip?" And I said, "Who?" And he said, "The cake decorator." And I said, "What's the $80 for?" I thought that's what my $80 paper was.
Cake.
The cake
For the cake.
Yeah, and I was like, no.
The whole point of tipping your server is that, like, I know in Texas I only made like $2 an hour as a server, so the tips are supposed to be like untaxable, make up for the $2 an hour. You make up for the lack of minimum wage.
Right.
But now you have people being paid like $15 an hour and then and not serving you, and then you're supposed to tip them too? No. I was at a outdoor kind of bar area the other day with some of my friends in DC, and all the guy did was crack me a can and hand it to me. Like,
and he's going, hand out.
It flips the screen over and it's like, how much do you want? 20% of my, I'm like, of my $12 tall boy?
Well,
no.
all I can say is people don't feel guilty.
Don't feel guilty.
Don't feel guilty.
Tip when you want.
Tip when you want. And also realize too that places like Toast and Square.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you knew this, but the guy that came up with the idea, developed Square, invented Square.
Yeah.
Also
Twitter.
Yes, he also started Twitter.
He's a weird dude.
He's a weird dude, but he created some cool stuff. But anyway, Square and then also like Toast and some of the other platforms actually take a percentage of not the total sale only, but also the tip.
Yeah, so you're tipping Square or Toast.
Yeah, so that's why also I think that's why all of the electronic platforms are pushing it out to all of the retailers and everything, because they're saying, hey, here's our new system. And then it's built in where it automatically asks, which is pretty smart because then money goes back to them.
Well, don't feel pressured to tip. Tip when you want. Tip your servers 20%. That's normal. Tip your servers 20%.
So just quickly, and bear with me because I printed this out. You probably didn't even know I did this.
No, probably not.
This is like different percentages that are acceptable to tip right now, or like the standards. So restaurant delivery, 15 to 20%. I think that's pretty normal. Grocery delivery, the same. Alcohol delivery, I don't know who has alcohol delivered, but I guess a lot of people do for parties and stuff. And so same thing.
It's like DoorDash.
15, 20%. If you're at a hotel, hotel valets, usually $5 to $10. Room service.
Becky loves valet, so she definitely knows the valet.
Valet is like the best thing ever invented, I think.
She would valet everywhere if she could.
I totally would. So a lot of people use the concierge and then don't tip them, but you really should tip them. That's part of their service. And, you just do it based on whatever they're booking for you. If they're just, booking a restaurant for you for dinner or whatever, $5 is fine. If they're booking some luau for 8 people, I mean, just judge accordingly on what they're doing.
People providing a service. People
providing a service. Housekeeping, I'm just always happy that somebody's willing to clean up after me. And make the bed and stuff where I don't have to, because I'm really adamant about making my bed every single day at home. So you're supposed to tip them like $3 to $5 for every night of the stay.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
and I think that's pretty. I guess a lot of people don't know that. Let's see if there's anything else on here. Maybe if somebody hails you a taxi, like a doorman, you're supposed to tip him like $5. That makes sense. I always do that, but so many people don't do that, and the reason I know is because whenever I do that,
they're appreciative.
Oh my gosh, they're so overly appreciative.
Yeah.
Cruises and all-inclusives will tell you ahead of time what's appropriate to tip at those.
I hate all-inclusive hotels. They treat you like you're doing them a favor, or they're doing you a favor by even being there. I went to an all-inclusive hotel for spring break in college, which, to be fair, it was filled with college kids on spring break, so none of them were tipping except for like me and a couple other people. But oh my God, everybody there was so rude.
Yes.
I hated it.
No, well, when we went to Mexico, remember the all-inclusive there?
Mine was Mexico there too.
I rarely go to those places too, but every time I do, or every time I have in the past, I've been sorry, because for one thing, I don't feel like I drink or eat enough to make up for.
Because all the food has no flavor.
I know.
At all-inclusive resorts.
Yeah, it's all tastes the same.
Yeah.
The alcohol is usually not the best either.
And they're telling you it's Don Julio, and it's never Don Julio.
No. And it's cheap alcohol, it's cheap food, and maybe it's different on some of the other cruises and stuff that you pay more
I've
for.
never been on a cruise, so I can't judge cruises.
I never have either.
I personally don't need to be in a boat in the middle of the ocean. No. That kind of freaks me out.
Well, that must be a Baker thing, because I don't want to be on a cruise either, and that's just
Gene
not my thing.
would be trapped. He wouldn't like being on the boat secluded.
He would not get back on at one of the ports.
We would not make it back to the boat before the boat left.
No, for sure. We'd
get left by the boat.
We would be left behind. Gene would have already departed.
Yeah, he would have left us at the port.
Left us behind. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, I thought this was interesting. So wedding and hosts like a big event, a wedding planner gets 20% on top of their cost.
That's what I'm telling my friends when the next time they ask me to plan their wedding.
There you go.
Yeah, 20%.
Yeah. I could plan the best weddings ever. So I could. And I wouldn't charge the 20% on top. I'd probably do it for fun.
That's good.
Yeah. And then weddings, we actually just went to a wedding.
All of our friends listening would love to hear that you would.
I know, right? That. Okay, JJ, when you get married.
JJ.
Becky's on board.
Cassidy just asked me to plan her wedding while we were at that wedding. She goes, would you do that? I go, as long as you hire a day of coordinator, so I don't have to yell at people all day. Yes.
The day of, you want to relax and enjoy the event and all that. Yeah. So I totally
We did just go to a wedding at the Ritz in Las Colinas. It was great.
Beautiful wedding.
The flowers were gorgeous.
Outstanding.
Catherine, the flowers were gorgeous. They were
beautiful. Great. The food was some of the best wedding food I've ever had, banquet food.
Yeah, it was great.
It was very well done. It was chicken or beef. You put that ahead of time, of course, and it wasn't the normal. Of course, it was the Ritz. It wasn't the normal chicken or beef. It was a nice, big, thick fillet, and it was pepper crusted, and the chicken came out on the bone, and everything looked fantastic.
All the food was great. The band was good too.
Band was good. So I did think it was. I guess it's my generation doesn't get this, but. It's not appropriate, I guess, to wear like a cream or a white dress, even as a guest to a wedding nowadays.
Yeah. That's very much like the younger, like millennials and Gen Z that feel that way. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I don't think it will bother me. Because I'm personally going to be like, I know whatever I have on is going to be more fabulous than anything anybody could wear, but that's just my own ego. So whatever. But anybody can wear whatever they want. Yeah. But yeah, no, most people say no white, no cream. No white as the majority of the dress color, even if it has other colors on it. No light colors that in some lightings could look white.
Oh my gosh. Well, I just think that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up where you wore black to funerals and you wore white or cream or pink, light pink or something like that to a wedding.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not a competition. Nobody should upstage the bride. And I don't think anybody in a normal, even if it's a white or cream dress, would.
No, I don't either. But, and then there's people like, I'm in this group called Fun on Weekdays, which is just like a Facebook group for like people around my age, started by like this podcaster and influencer, Jenna Palick. Mm-hmm. And people ask for advice on clothes, on moving, on, I live in this city, anyone know anyone in this city, I need this done, I need this, whatever. It's very like helpful group chat kind of thing, but for a ton of people, Facebook group. And there's a ton of stuff about weddings and wedding dresses. And every time somebody's like, can I wear this to a wedding? Somebody's like, no, you can't wear that. That's like too much white. There's too much white on there. And I'm like, when did it become you can't wear a bridal white dress to you can't wear a pattern dress that has a base of white? Like
right.
That we're getting too extreme. And then there's
strange.
People who are like, I would spill red wine on someone if they wore white to my wedding.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, well,
that's aggressive.
I know.
Then they shouldn't be going to your wedding if you feel like you can dump a glass of red wine.
I'm like, if you think I'm making a scene in a white dress, just wait till somebody spills wine on me.
Oh my gosh. No. Well, and the reason I knew about it too was because I asked this bride recently at a shower, what do you think of this dress for someone coming to your wedding? And she was like, it's too white. And I was like, I just thought that was funny.
Well, I told her, she asked me beforehand, she goes, what about this for the wedding? And I go, no, you can't wear that and I can't wear that because it's white. And you were like, really? Do you think they'll care? And I go, they're gonna care. They all the brides right now care.
Yeah.
And
well, I looked back at pictures from one of the weddings that we attended to. Maybe when was the Troop wedding? Ashley Troop and
that was
Troop.
like 2007.
Yeah, so a long time ago. But this cream-colored dress, and it's a beautiful dress, and it was cocktail length and had some big stones on the
didn't look
straps.
bridal.
It didn't look bridal, but it was cream. Very cream, and that's what I wore to that wedding. And
no one had a problem.
No one had a problem with it. It looked great.
It's like I said, it's a recent change.
Yeah.
Like past probably 5-6 years, I would say, maybe closer to 10, but.
Well, I just think that's a little too micromanagey for me. I mean, I'm good with just saying what type of attire to wear to the wedding.
I'm more concerned with people being in actual black tie. I think on my wedding invitation, I'm gonna put black tie non-optional.
There you
go. Because
I
don't think it ever should be optional. If you're going to, like we said, we just went to the wedding at the Ritz, and there were a couple people there that were like, I'm like, that's not black tie.
No, a couple people didn't get the memo.
Most people did at that wedding, but there were a couple where I was like, that's just not black tie.
For sure.
But
so what's next?
Want to talk about some pop culture, I think.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
our last couple things before we close it out. So I know we talked about TV shows a couple episodes ago. Euphoria, which you would actually really like, Mom. It's very well acted. It kind of reminds me of White Lotus, where it's like a really shocking and it's very almost disturbing show, but the acting's so good. It's almost like artwork.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's anybody that's watched Euphoria, it's very it's a hard to watch show. It's a very heavy show. You can only watch like one episode at a time.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, so it's coming back.
And you didn't think it was?
No, because it's been 3 it'll have been 3 years, because I watched the last season every week with Katie and Jordan in my college house. So that was senior in college. And then it came out every Sunday. They confirmed, Entertainment Tonight confirmed from HBO that Euphoria Season 3 is set to start filming in 2 months, and that they will retain the core cast, which is, they're probably paying so much money for these people's time, because it's Zendaya, Sydney Sweeney, Jacob Elordi, Maude Apatow, who was in, remember she was in This Is 40?
Yes.
Yes. Hunter Schafer, who's been in a bunch of stuff recently, and Alexa Demi. They will all, I guess, be in the season 3, and it will be a time jump. So they won't be in high school anymore. It's going to be probably a 2-3 year time jump.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a good way to do it.
It is. And so it's no longer set in high school. So I wonder how they're going to do that. But the fact that they got Sydney Sweeney back and Jacob Elordi back, I think, are big, because Jacob Elordi's the guy from Saltburn, remember?
Yes. Yeah.
And he's a big actor now, and so is she. And they probably had to pay him a boatload of money, and Zendaya, to come back.
I loved Saltburn.
Saltburn was great.
Saltburn was such a weird
movie.
Great movie.
Well, and people were like, so like, oh my gosh, it's so disturbing and so overly sexual. And I'm like, out of all the things that I've seen probably the past 3 years on TV shows and movies, that one wasn't that disturbing for me, because it was supposed to be a weird, freaky movie.
Yeah.
So I was expecting it, I guess. But the acting was great.
The acting was great.
Writing was really good.
Very good writing, art direction, cinematography. All of that was fantastic. And then the guy from Saltburn,
Barry Keoghan,
is in the video we just watched.
Yeah, so he's dating Sabrina Carpenter. So most people know who Sabrina Carpenter is. She's probably one of the biggest pop stars right now. Kind of shot up this year. And I would say the big 4 pop stars right now are obviously Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo,
yes,
Sabrina Carpenter, and Chappell Roan is making a big leap like Sabrina Carpenter did. And they're all very like, besides Olivia Rodrigo, the other 2 I think are very like synth pop, which is a category that we haven't seen in a while, like be the top category. But Sabrina Carpenter's dating Barry Keoghan, and she's been skyrocketing this year. She toured with Taylor Swift.
She's tiny too.
She's like a Polly Pocket. That's what everybody's saying.
Like
is that
4'11", I think.
Yeah, she's 4'11". If Taylor Swift is Barbie, she's a Polly Pocket. Like,
oh my
gosh, she's teeny tiny, and she wears these heels that are like this high. Yes. And she's dancing all on stage in these giant heels, and whoever's her stylist is incredible, because she has great little outfits, and they all like fit this little vibe of like very feminine, but like sexual, but not like
not in your face,
not lingerie kind of thing. But no, she's dominating right now. So she kind of made a bunch of waves on TikTok before she toured with Taylor Swift, because her song Nonsense, there's like a little outro at the end that's kind of like cheeky and kind of risque, and she would change it for each city and like rhyme something new with the city.
Very cool.
So it was going viral on TikTok every week, like what's Sabrina Carpenter gonna say in Milwaukee, and so then and she's kept that up. So every time she sings that song, like if she's at Coachella or Gov Ball or whatever, she kind of changes it.
And I think she also has kind of a similar storytelling ability to Taylor Swift.
Definitely a different music style and like look style, but I agree, it's very similar way she tells a story. And no, she's definitely been dominating, and I too would put my Oscar-nominated boyfriend in my music video if I had one.
Well, and he's tiny too, but he's bigger than she is.
I said, you see them together, they're like little elves. Yeah. They're tiny.
Yeah, he's tiny.
Yeah.
But I don't know who saw Saltburn, but not all of them's tiny.
No, on Twitter, it was like Sabrina Carpenter saw Saltburn and knew exactly what she wanted after that.
Oh my gosh, she's like, I want that man.
Yeah, that one. That one. Little Irish man. But,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's great, and check her out if you don't listen to her. Let's see, is that all we had on there? Oh, we wanted to talk about Brats.
Yeah, well, the Brat Pack, Brats. So we saw, unexpectedly, we were looking for something to watch the other day, and we landed on this documentary by Andrew McCarthy.
It's a Hulu documentary.
It's Hulu, and it's on the Brat Pack of the 80s. And I just didn't realize.
We're big 80s movies fans. Yes. So this was a very good choice for us.
She spent like a whole summer watching 80 movies when you were younger.
Oh, I love 80s movies.
Big 80s movie fans. And of course, I grew up in high school in the 80s. So the Brat Pack, was like Rob Lowe, Emilio Estevez, Demi Moore, Ali Sheedy, Andrew McCarthy, Judd Nelson,
Molly Ringwald.
these actors, I just didn't realize until watching the documentary
I had no idea
that it had such a negative connotation.
They hated it.
And a negative impact on some of their careers.
Yeah.
Which when I heard the Brat Pack when I was younger, I associated it with, okay, it's a younger version of the Rat Pack.
Right.
So, but the funny thing is,
and
they never hung out with each other.
Well, no. And
like the Rat Pack did.
And they almost didn't hang out with each other because of that name.
Yes.
Because they didn't want to be associated with that name. And you didn't see why they thought it was negative at first. And Andrew McCarthy, I think, produced
He did.
And he did a great job.
Yeah.
It was great. And I've always liked him as an actor, so it was cool to see that. But
it was interesting too.
And the journalist for the New York Post that wrote, so he was supposed to do a profile on Emilio Estevez, and he basically turned it into these spoiled brat actors that are taking their talent and just using it for fame, and it was like,
and they really weren't that talented.
No.
I mean, like the guy obviously had
they can only do one. They can only do one style of movie and
limited actors. Yeah,
it was crazy, and he was such a sleazeball. And
he still is.
They interviewed Andrew McCarthy. Interviewed him now. He's like, "Do you apologize for any of it? Do you feel bad for any of it? How it affected us?"
No, not really.
No. Yeah, and he goes, "Well, I went to dinner with Rob Lowe and Emilio Estevez and was it Andrew McCarthy?
I think so.
And no, Judd Nelson.
Yeah,
Judd Nelson. So he's with those three actors in the 80s at a restaurant in New York, and he goes, "Yeah, I was getting the least amount of attention out of the four of us." And I'm like, "Well, no shit. You're sitting with Rob Lowe, anybody's going to get less attention than Rob Lowe."
Obviously the guy had some sort of just like jealousy streak or whatever in him about those actors too, and a bruised ego.
Right.
And I don't know why the guy had such a big ego to begin with, but
who knows?
But he still obviously
that's
has
always
issues.
what I've told you about reporting, though, is that when we're talking about my career and stuff and my background in journalism, I said the dark side to reporting is that a lot of it is very impersonable, or impersonal, and invasive. Mm-hmm. And that was how they felt that story kind of carried them in a bad light. And Emilio Estevez
stereotyped them into different types of roles that they were very limited and they weren't, and almost dictated some of their careers ahead of time.
Emilio Estevez was still clearly jaded by it, even in the interview.
Yeah.
And like you said, Demi Moore and Rob Lowe felt that you can't really do anything. You kind of move on. They had the best outlook on it, and they had the biggest careers.
They had the biggest careers afterwards. Because of their attitude.
Molly Ringwald wouldn't even be in the documentary.
No, I know.
Which is crazy, because she's the one I think of when I think of that group of people.
Pretty in Pink and Breakfast Club.
16 Candles.
Yeah.
All those movies. So I don't know. It was very interesting watch.
So it was funny because right after we watched that kind of as a fluke, then when we were getting ready to leave this morning, the People magazine was sitting on my table, which I'm not a People magazine reader.
I am.
You are, and my mom,
I love magazines.
and my daughter both love. You both love it, but I'm not. But the funny thing is, I've been getting People magazine for like 10 years, and I've never once paid for it. So I don't know who's sending it to me, why I keep getting it, and I usually just pass them along either to you or to Grandma, right? But this month's issue was actually on the very cover. And the reason I brought it with me was because one of the stories was about the documentary Brats and about the Brat Pack. So I thought that was kind of interesting that we just watched it.
And my favorite part of that documentary was Andrew McCarthy interviewed all these people, and Ali Sheedy and all these actors, and the guy from 2.5 Men, what's his name?
I can't think of
you know who I'm talking about, though. Yeah, who was in Pretty in Pink and was Ducky in Pretty in Pink. And he's interviewing all these people, and he goes, "Okay, so who's in the Brat Pack?" And they're like, none of them can figure out who's really in it.
Right.
And then one of the girl from Back to the Future goes, "Well, I'm Brat Pack adjacent, but I'm not in it."
And that was Leah Thompson.
Yeah, that was Leah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we
and
were
then
saying,
some people were like, "Well, is Tom Cruise part of the Brat Pack?"
And they're like, no, he's just associated with them. He's not in it.
Right. It was very strange how nobody could
pinpoint. The girl from St. Elmo's Fire, what's her name? That kind of played the dumpy girl.
Oh yeah, the heavier set girl.
Wendy.
Yeah, I can't remember her name either. Well, that
I don't know, but they were like, she's
not in it. I remember the main people, but I don't. Yeah, she's kind of a side character.
Somebody said Demi Moore wasn't, and I go, oh my God,
Mar Winningham.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't. But
and I've seen her in a few things here and there, but nothing.
Demi Moore wasn't. And I go, not only was she in St. Elmo's Fire, she was in that movie with Rob Lowe. What was it?
Yeah,
About Last Night?
About Last Night.
Yeah. And we decided that you have to be in 2 of the movies.
Yeah. I think that's a good qualifier.
Yeah.
So,
but that was great. So
it was great. You guys check it out on Hulu because that was entertaining, and especially if you love 80s and 80s movies. And
right.
I think that's pretty much it for today.
Yeah, that's all we had.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Hope everybody enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us today. You can check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and a number of other platforms. And YouTube if you want to watch the video portion of it, which we have a great studio and great camera guys.
We're good looking too, so you should check it out.
Check it out. Thanks for joining us today. This has been the Baker Tate.